Willamette River was at a crossroads in the 1960s when it was heavily polluted, and the question before Oregonians was whether to continue in that direction or to chart a new course. In 1966, the Democratic candidate for governor, Bob Straub, suggested protecting the Willamette River under a greenway concept in which a corridor would be established so people could access and use the river. The Republican candidate, Tom McCall, responded by saying he thought it was a good idea. When Tom McCall won the election, he implemented the greenway concept and led efforts to clean up the river. 8 years later, Bob Straub became the governor and continued the efforts to conserve and enhance the river. One result, intended or otherwise, is that paddling has become the most popular boating activity on the river. Among the reasons are that the river is clean, has good public access, and that paddlecraft are affordable, easy to maintain, and easy to transport. Paddling has also been helped by the Waterway Access Permit Program, which provides funds that the Oregon State Marine Board uses to improve access to the river and to promote safety. People enjoy being out on the river, and paddling is an affordable and environmentally sensitive way to boat on it. All that is needed is a paddlecraft, a paddle, a personal flotation device, commonly called a PFD, or a life jacket, a whistle, and a flashlight to alert other boats when out at night. Paddlecraft 10 feet long and longer will need a waterway access permit, which costs $17 for 1 year or $30 for 2 years. With respect to paddling, the Willamette River consists of 4 parts having distinctly different characters. Starting from the confluence with the Columbia River and reaching upstream to the Ross Island Bridge, the northern part of the lower Willamette River is mostly industrial and is the only section with heavy maritime traffic. Paddling in this section has some interesting aspects, but its overall character and the relative lack of access points make it less popular than the other sections of the river. The southern portion of the lower Willamette River runs from the Ross Island Bridge to Willamette Falls and is highly popular with paddlers. This stretch has at least a dozen public access points throughout its length. It has a mostly suburban character, but is a pleasant place to paddle. The Newburgh Pool section of the Willamette runs between Willamette Falls and the confluence of the Yamhill River upstream from Newburgh. What makes this stretch different from the other stretches is that it has a constant water level in the summer with very little current. The upper Willamette begins at the confluence with the Yamhill River and runs all the way to its headwaters south of Eugene. The river is shallower here and runs with more current. Much of this stretch has a primal feel, and even the parts that are surrounded by agricultural properties give the impression of wilderness. There is very little conflict between paddlers and other users of the river. For the most part, boaters on motorized vessels are considerate, and their presence makes the river safer. An exception to courtesy from motorized craft arises from those owners of wakeboats who disregard the safety of other boaters or who violate laws that place limits on wakeboat activities. Some in the wakeboat community have targeted paddlers by spreading misinformation, such as the falsehood that there are rules that limit paddlers to the edges of the river. There are no such rules, and paddlers are entitled to use the river the same as any other recreational boater. Nonetheless, safety is of primary importance when paddling on the Willamette and should be taken seriously. State and federal laws require paddlers to carry a PFD for each person on the boat, but they really should be worn. Keep in mind that paddleboards are considered to be boats, not surfboards, and are required to comply with boating laws. Cold water is perhaps the most insidious hazard on the river, and the water temperatures from October until June are dangerously cold. Sudden immersion in cold water causes a cold water shock reaction that results in rapid breathing, a racing heart rate, and elevated blood pressure. After a few minutes, blood flow to the arms and legs diminishes, and can negate the ability to swim. Cold water can and has caused unprepared paddlers to perish by drowning. Because it can be extremely difficult to put on a PFD when experiencing cold water shock or incapacitation, paddlers should always wear them when the river is cold. Fallen or submerged trees and branches, known as strainers, are another hazard on parts of the river. These obstacles can pin and draw paddlers underwater by the force of the current, where the water pressure makes escape nearly impossible and leads to drowning. When paddling on parts of the river where strainers are present, it is important to pay attention to the river ahead and maintain a safe distance from strainers and other obstacles. All that being said, anyone who wants to enjoy the river should consider taking up paddling. It's an affordable way to enjoy and connect with the river without harming it. But make sure to do it safely. Purchase a waterway access permit to support continuing efforts to improve access and safety. And appreciate what a special opportunity we have.